I just
All right,
made little,
clapboard.
just little small notes, just what subject matters, all I did.
right.
I didn't plan anything.
Everybody quiet. And so when you're ready.
Oh, okay, super. David,
Yes.
how did you stack up in your mom's eyes with your brother?
Oh my goodness! If you're comparing with Mike, there is no comparison. Mike was always number one. I never had a chance. Larry was born first. Larry was just he was never in the pictures anywhere. He just wasn't there. It always started with Mike, and then I was down below that, and then eventually it went down. Mike held the position as being the favorite child his whole life until Laura was born. But that's when he lost it.
David, did it give you a complex?
Oh, absolutely. Here I am, the middle child. Of course, I had a complex. I knew I was never going to be anything, and they wouldn't know if I was home or not. So I spent most of my time away. Mike would catch me from time to time and straighten me out.
So tell me a little bit about national championships and.
Sailing with Boykin Wright in 1972, we won the American Wildflower Yacht Racing Association's title. And Mike Annis also competed in a wildflower that he bought from us. And he sailed competitively, and he was very, very good at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so tell us the story about you, in your position at the boat dealership, and your brother got a boat, and then who did he sell it to?
Oh, yeah, we built a boat for Mike, and he sold it to a fellow named Ted Turner, who lived in Atlanta, and that was a really big deal. Michael really enjoyed the idea of being able to go to his office in Atlanta and complete the transaction. His kids, Ted Turner's children, are the ones that were the beneficiary of the boat, and they got to sell a very competitive boat.
And he was a pretty good sailor himself.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was. Yeah, Mike could do well.
And
Ted Turner, I've heard of him. Yeah, a couple times, and he's won some big ones.
Yeah.
America's Cup.
So what did I hear about the doggy did it?
The doggy did it. Now this is kind of a weird story. When I was very little, I didn't have very good potty training. I don't think my parents really knew about how to do that stuff. We had a maid that took care of us during the day, and her name was Ruth Green, and she was an amazing lady. I learned a lot of life lessons from her. But one day I had a little accident, and I pooped in my pants. Sorry, I looked down, but I pooped in my pants, and I was so embarrassed. She took me outside behind the bushes at the house, and she took a water hose, and she was wetting me down to wash all that stinky off. And my brother Mike was out there, and he was trying to defend me. He said, "Doggy did it. Doggy did it." And that's what he did. Everybody broke up laughing, and it was done. So I don't think I ever poo-pooed in my pants again after that.
Is that what big brothers are supposed to do?
That is what big brothers are supposed to do, and he was the best. Absolutely still is.
Mm-hmm. What about a bat at school? Did you hear
Oh yeah, I heard about that. It was at Augusta Prep that there was a bat that was let loose, and nobody knew where it came from until Emily Sheftal, who was the English teacher, found out about the bat. She knew who had to do it, and Mike got in trouble because they called our parents to let them know that Mike had let a bat loose in there. Now, the bat's not the only thing that happened, though. We had access to a lot of different animals and creatures that were kind of weird. There was a friend of his named Leonard. I'm not going to use his last name, but Leonard was responsible for the Great Cricket Invasion, and Leonard was a good friend of Mike. So these crickets came from, I guess, Gant's cricket farm, and they were there for years. They called pest control people, but they were up inside the ceiling tiles, so they couldn't get to them. And in addition to that, Mike was totally responsible. Okay, I was there too, with the white rats. My brother Larry was in charge of the white rats, pretty little white rats. They had pink eyes, and they were using them in psychology class at Augusta State University, or Augusta College at the time. And Mike got a hold of the rats, 2 of them, and put them in his duffel bag with his clothes and all to bring back to school. And one day they were mysteriously released into the girls' bathroom, and that created quite an uproar. Now, to this day, I don't know that they ever figured out where they came from. So I never admitted anything. I didn't have much to do with it. But I was there. And then we had another thing that happened. I don't know where we got this spider monkey, but we got a spider monkey, and he was a very rambunctious spider monkey. And the spider monkey got loose in the school as well. And he got caught and run down. And that monkey would do strange things to people's ears. He'd jump up on your head, and he'd start doing strange things. And you go, and you go, oh, God. So anyway, that was a spider monkey incident. That was pretty intense.
Was Mike a prankster?
He was a prankster, yeah. And he was a quiet type. He's the kind that could pull a prank and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't expect him to do stuff like he did, but he was very good at it. Yeah, so he got away with things like that.
I also understood that he liked to run around naked.
Now, that's the streaking story, and I don't have any physical proof of that, but I know the rumor is that he had participated in some streaking, and I don't know if I should mention this or not, but I think that Mickey Smith was also involved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts you had that you wrote down?
Yeah. I can go back and find it. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, there's something that I was thinking about, too, that he did teach me a lot. He taught me a lot in life, and one of the biggest things was when I was 3 years old, I think I was still in diapers, I was still wetting my pants, and Mike taught me how to pee on the toilet with lifting the lid, and what it encouraged me was that he took toilet paper, and he would make toilet paper boats. He'd just tear pieces of toilet paper, drop them down in the toilet, and then what we'd do, we'd stand side by side, and we would target those, and we would try to sink them. And so that was a big thing, and that's how I learned how to TT on the toilet. Thank you, Mike.
And then, now, later in life, what did your big brother teach you about, maybe about business or life?
Well, I can tell you when I got a lot older, he was really helpful with anything having to do with business law. So anytime I had questions or problems with anything at all, I go to him and say, what should I do about this or do about that? And he would walk me through the right ways to handle those situations. And he was really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Look through. See
Yeah.
if there's
Oh, yeah. Dad kept gunpowder and explosives in our garage. And mainly what he'd used the stuff for was blowing up stumps when we built the lake house at the sailing club. He'd dynamite, blasting caps. He had gunpowder. And one thing that Mike and I did that I recall at an early age, we had gotten some of the gunpowder off of the shelf, and we had these model trains. So we took a train track, we took all the straight track we could get, and we put the straight track down in the backyard, and we took the train and we put a cylinder in it that we filled with gunpowder, and we put a fuse and we lit it, and we would launch the train down across the backyard as fast as it would go, and that was fun. That was just a hoot.
That's awesome. How do you describe your brother's character?
He's hilarious. He's funny as he can be, and he could do everything with a straight face. And I just enjoyed growing up with Mike. He's been an inspiration to me my whole life. This is probably the biggest thing. When my dad left the family, Lon and Laura didn't have a dad that they could look up to. Larry was off at school. Mike was there. And Mike took the time, and Jeff took the time to take the kids and do things with them. I remember going with Lon and looking at the lights during Christmas. And Lon standing up in the front seat of the car, like he'd always do, and Laura, they'd be looking, and Lon saying, "Yite, yite, yite," as we're looking at all the Christmas lights. And so, but Mike primarily took over the leadership role with the kids, and they looked up to him as being a father figure, and as well as Jeff.
That's beautiful. That's great. And lastly, and this could be one where, if it's okay, Rob, you could look into the camera, and I'm having everybody do a happy holiday greeting to Mike, but in any
Yeah.
way that you like.
Yeah.
Just to pretend Mike was here and
Okay.
just say Mike, and then whatever you'd like to say
Okay.
to him.
Mike.
Wait.
Okay.
This one? This camera right
Okay. Mike, Merry Christmas to you and Gina and the whole family. Love you from the bottom of my heart forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. That's
There you go.
wonderful. Lon, you are up next, my friend.
You're the next victim.
So when you're ready.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you were kind of the little brother. So talk about your remembrances of your big brother when you were growing up.
Well, Mike seemed to always be around, which was nice. I guess he was still a teenager when we were little, and I always remember Saturday mornings, he'd sit around with my sister and we'd watch cartoons. He'd always have a plate of crackers and saltine crackers with the jar of salt. I always had to put extra salt on the saltine crackers. And Mom would fuss at him because whatever meat he had on his plate, he let the cats lick off of the plate. But he loved sitting there watching the cartoons, Sesame Street especially, and all the other cartoons. And when the cartoons were over, my sister and I would convince him to go play the piano, and he'd go in there and play the Charlie Brown theme song. And we loved that. But yeah, when we got a little bit older and when Dad passed away, he'd take me with him, and trips to the lake were always fun, but trips to the fraternity house were pretty interesting, especially when you go to the basement where the card tables were and a lot of partying going on. But I don't remember ever seeing him drink and play cards, but it was quite enjoyable to just hang out with him and do things like that.
Yeah. How would, to someone who doesn't know, oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Lon, to someone who maybe doesn't know Mike, how would you describe his integrity or his character?
Wow. Very trustworthy, honest. He treats everybody the same, whether it be a family gathering or somebody in his courtroom that's up for murder charges. He'd treat everybody exactly the same. You know, I love going and see him in court. That was always interesting. The only thing I hated about it was every time I walked in his courtroom, no matter what was going on, he'd stop what was going on in court, and he'd say, "Lonnie Doodle, come up here and see me real quick." And so they let me up front, and I go up to his desk, and I say, "Don't call me Lonnie Doodle in the courtroom." But all my brothers had nicknames for me, so.
Now, how old were you at the time when, oh,
Tilt your head up just a little bit. All right, go ahead.
How old were you at the time, Lon, when you'd go in the courtroom and he'd call you Lonnie Doodle, roughly?
Probably a lot during my last divorce. I was in the courthouse a lot, so probably 15 years ago. I was
So-
in my 40s.
In your 40s?
Yeah.
That's funny. Now, did you write down a few other stories about?
Yeah, I mean, he was. Let's see. Oh, I know my brothers remember this, the baby chase.
Oh, go right ahead.
This, all the big boys would gather all the little kids in the neighborhood and basically chase us around the house, front yard, backyard, and that was fun. We always got caught, but yeah, baby chase. I don't know how legal that is nowadays, but they chase us around and around. But yeah, Mike always kind of took my sister and I under his wings, and so did Jeff and David. We would, Jeff would take us to David's boat shop, and I'd get fiberglass all over me, and Mom would fuss, but that was always fun. And going in Mike's room while he was studying for college, and he'd have papers everywhere across his floor. And so I learned how to study from him. It's like, so I used to be able to sit on the floor like he did, but and I learned to do my taxes that way, have paperwork all over the floor. And I still would do it that way if I could sit on the floor. But,
Right.
yeah.
Anything else that you'd like
I
to-
write like him too. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible handwriting.
Anything else you'd like to share about your brother? Anything that comes to
Uh,
mind? Take your
Let's see.
time.
Yep. He was, like David was saying, he's always like a dad figure. And so much so that when I was at his house and my girlfriend, who's now my wife, came over to visit and meet him for the first time, he came out in his boxers and T-shirt. And we're standing there talking, and she kept thinking he was my dad. And she kept saying it over and over again, thinking that he was my dad. And a few minutes passed of having a conversation with him, and he says, "Well, I guess I should go put on some pants." And this was 10 years ago. He was a judge, and but that was Mike. He did, he didn't mind walking around the house in his boxers and T-shirt, no matter who was there. I mean, another judge there, and he was dressed the same way.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories of skinny dipping and.
Yep. And the streaking. I think maybe Jim Claffey was involved with that with Mike too. But
Yeah, what did you hear about the streaking?
all the neighborhood kids would go sit and watch the streakers run across the park. Well, they put a fence up. They used to run across the parking lot over at Augusta State. So Augusta College at the time. It was a blast. They were crazy. Couldn't see who was who because I think they put the underwear on their head.
Right, sure. Well, if there isn't anything else, what we've had everyone do is just kind of look into the camera
Yeah.
and wish them, just a Merry Christmas or just whatever you'd
Yeah.
like to say.
Yeah.
related to
This camera right
this
this
one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, we love you. Gina, we love you. And wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon. God bless you.
All right, super. Thank you.